We have a saying in our family, if you dream alone, it's only a dream. You know, when Hope and I came to my mom and dad with the dream, the idea that we might be able to take our wheat, turn it into flour, and ultimately have a bakery in Bozeman, we shared that dream with them and they were on board.
Dean, thank you. Welcome so much today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Boy, I'm just glad you took some time out of your busy schedule because I know you're running 100 miles an hour. So let's get right down to it, buddy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of, you know, what you're doing these days?
Well, you know, you're right, Joel. The day starts early and we end up staying up pretty late, but we're surrounded by great people, and so things go better every day for us, and we're looking forward to the future. You know, we're now sort of exiting the Wheat Montana business as a family, sort of reinventing ourselves in hospitality because we've got 3 properties now that are open and up and running, and we're excited about what we might be able to do in the hospitality business. We've had a good run in the wheat business and the bread and the milling business, so our daughters and our families really charged up about the future right now.
Now we're fortunate today, we're here in Wheat, Montana. We're getting to kind of do this from a great location, great people, you got a great staff. But you started long ago, way before Wheat, Montana. What was life like when you started out?
Yeah, well, it goes way back to, I think, the days when we were kids running around in Helen. My folks had a small farm there. You know, my mom worked in town at the Federal Reserve Bank, and my dad farmed, and everything that she made supported the family, and everything he made on the farm supported the farm, and we were able to expand a little bit. He had cows, and we had a really small irrigated farm. Then we bought this dryland farm up near the flashing light where you turn off to go to Canyon Ferry in Montana, and it's right on Highway 287, a pretty famous spot, and we owned a dryland farm there. And it actually went pretty well, and that's kind of what launched us into dryland wheat farming.
So did you have this vision as a child that you wanted to go from the production side all the way to the milling side to then the retail side?
No, I wouldn't say it was a childhood dream, but you know, my brother and I made our first money in agriculture. We had 4-H steers, and we sold those and made good money. We needed a car one time, so we actually planted a big garden, went to farmer's market and sold all that stuff. My dad matched us dollar for dollar, and we got our first car. So it was through producing things and in agriculture and selling them that really got us our start, and we made our first money. And we actually found out that we kind of liked money. And when we got into the dryland wheat farming and we hit our first big score in Helena, my dad had bought the farm. It rained a lot that year. The Russian wheat deal went through. Wheat went to $6 a bushel. He paid for the farm the first year. And we looked at each other, and my dad and I said, we got to do this in a bigger scale. When we moved to Three Forks, you know, this was a hardscrabble wheat farm down here. It was dryland farming in a pretty dry area, open fallow farming. You know, we weren't doing no-till yet. So we had to implement all the things that got us to the point where we felt like we were growing high-quality wheat and producing the quantities of wheat that we could so that we could take on this project. You know, when I went to college, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I figured I'd be farming or maybe become a truck driver because I wasn't really a student. I got involved in the rodeo program down at Montana State, and that really turned my life around. Met Hope, she really turned my life around and made me a better man. And all of a sudden, you know, it felt like we got to do something more significant than just farm. And when we got involved in the specialty grains business in about '86 and '87, growing the first hard white wheat in America, that's what really launched us into the specialty grains business. We got a little traction with a couple of church groups, and all of a sudden our wheat was in demand. And we met a baker down in Bozeman, and we got involved with him in a partnership, and by 1990 we owned that bakery, and we were using wheat off of the farm in the bakery, and we started Wheat Montana about 1990. It was a surreal time. I mean, there was just a lot of neat things that kind of came together at the right time. On a personal level, you know, I was developing, and I took a Dale Carnegie class. And the Dale Carnegie class really kind of turned it around for me. I mean, it was one of those things that I didn't have to do, but I was always interested in reading self-help books, and my shelves are full of all of the gurus of the time in business. And the Dale Carnegie thing really made a big difference in me, and that was in 1990. That was when we were launching Wheat Montana, and I had to kind of give up a couple of other careers. I was an auctioneer. I gave up my rodeo career I was doing pretty good in auctions, selling livestock auctions and doing farm sales. And so we decided to put all that stuff on a back burner and go 100% into Wheat, Montana.
So you mentioned Hope. What about the rest of your kids?
Hillary and Haley have now become young women, and they're pretty involved in what we're doing right now. They're not interested in farming, and so that's kind of a sad thing, because I think that that era of our life and our family's history is probably going to come to an end at some point. You know, we've essentially sold most of our interest in Wheat, Montana now to an investor group. Of course, we're still involved, and I'm still the CEO of the company, but I don't know how much longer that's going to last. Really, my passion is in helping those guys get their feet on the ground and go large in hospitality. And it seems like they like boutique hotels and boutique properties with food, so we're going to see how that goes. We're just starting our RSVP project in Bozeman, and so that's on the launching pad, and we've got high hopes for that. And if that works out, we're going to just duplicate the model.
And just so I clarify, Hope's your wife, and you and Hope have worked together since you've been married.
We have got married in '82. She was qualified to be a teacher, and so she taught for a couple of years. And I needed a part-time bookkeeper when Wheat, Montana took off. You know, we didn't have computers, and we didn't have a payroll system that was very easy to manage and manipulate. So she agreed to do it for part-time, and then when it became full-time, she says, well, I got to give up my teaching career. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, if you do that, you know, hopefully it can work out. I mean, there's no guarantees how this thing's going to go. So yeah, for the past 30 years or so, we've been working together side by side. Of course, with my parents too. My parents were instrumental in getting us our feet on the ground and giving us an opportunity. And so having had that opportunity with my folks, you know, we want to make sure that we afford our children the same opportunity to launch and go forward.
So I deal with a lot of family businesses that struggle because of the strife, the family strife that happens. You've been able to make it work with your parents, with your wife involved in the business. How have you done that?
Well, it hasn't been easy. I mean, it's not always milk and cookies. I know from experience that when it's working as a family, there's nothing better, because you trust each other. Everybody's on the same page every day. You get up for the same reasons. You work for the same reasons. And when you're successful, you succeed together. When it's not working, it can be absolutely the worst thing in the world. And we've seen it happen hundreds of times with farms and ranches in Montana, you know, and the internal family struggles destroy the place. We've been very fortunate. You know, my mom and dad stuck together. Hope and I have been able to hang in there and stick together through some pretty tough times and ups and downs. We haven't always been in agreement when it comes time to write the check to add on and expand and borrow more money. But it has somehow, by the grace of God, worked out, you know, and I think that that's just a perseverance. We have a saying in our family, if you dream alone, it's only a dream. You know, when Hope and I came to my mom and dad with the dream, the idea that we might be able to take our wheat, turn it into flour, and ultimately have a bakery in Bozeman, we shared that dream with them, and they were on board. And when we had other employees brought into the company, we shared that dream. They got on board, and so you have to share your dreams with other people that can help them make it come true. And so we've held to this axiom in our family that when you dream alone, it's only a dream. And I think that's something that can really help other people, other families, and other individuals in business. If you've got an idea and you got a dream and you got an aspiration, you got to share it with the right people. And if you do that, because we're in America, great things can happen.
Now, you've shared this dream with your daughters. You mentioned they're involved in your hospitality side of the businesses. How'd you get them to be so passionate or involved in the businesses?
I think just because we've traveled, you know, a lot. Well, I guess I'll back up a little bit. They've been a part of Wheat, Montana through all of the ups and downs. You know, when you're children in a family of entrepreneurs or a family of business people, those conversations are ongoing at the dinner table, in the car, when you're going to a sporting event, all of the things that are going on and the things that are, you know, your next biggest challenge. And our kids have been a part of all that. You know, they've really, you know, I knew it when I was growing up, when my folks were trying to rub 2 nickels together to buy another piece of ground. They contemplated it, they talked about it, we understood what the banking arrangement was, we understood what the pressure was and the challenge and the risk as kids. And I think we actually lived it a little bit, my brother and I. And our kids are no exception to that. You know, when it was going good, they shared in that. When it was not going good and I was gone, and they actually helped. I mean, they came up here and they worked. They both worked in this business and worked in the deli. They sold vegetables in the front. They understand what it's like being around people and trying to understand how to, you know, have a business that's attractive and that makes money every day and that can actually foster a lot of other exciting things. And then we grew up and we were able to travel. And they've been all over the world with us, and we've always traveled together, and they've seen some of the nicest properties in the world. And so having that experience, I think, is fueling their energy for what we're thinking about doing next.
So if you were talking to a young entrepreneurial couple out there who have a couple young kids, what would be a great little piece of advice for them in bringing their children along as their businesses grow?
Well, I think you have to share all the details with them. You know, I don't think you should insulate your kids from what makes your heart tick. You know, I think we have to make sure that they understand what we're all about. And we were very open with our kids, and I think that you got to make sure that they understand what you're going through. And then also, you know, even though we've been very, very busy, Hope and I, we never missed a basketball game. We never missed a birthday party. You know, we never missed one of those important events in our kids' lives. And that's something that I'm most proud of. You know, I traveled a lot when this company needed me, and I was gone a lot. But we were always able to make it work, and we never missed any of those important things. And I'll tell you what, it's made us really close as a family. You know, our oldest daughter now is married and has a child, and we really like the guy that she brought into the family. It's another one of those things that's tough for our kids. You know, not everybody qualifies, and they know that. And any of these boys that come around, they also kind of get the gist that, you know, it's not just going to be a free ride into the Folkboard family. So it's something that, you know, we all think a lot about, deeply about, and we want our family unit to stay together. And, you know, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but right now it's really good. You know, we are Norwegians and stubborn people. I mean, they say that why Norwegians beat their head up against the wall all the time is because it feels so good when you finally quit. You know? And I think I think we've done a lot of that. You know, I mean, we've had a few things that worked out beautifully, but we've had a lot of things that didn't. You know, our first experiments into no-till didn't work very well, but we overcame those issues and those problems. Our first bakery experience was not very awesome. We got involved with a guy that had some really good ideas in baking, and we had a little extra money. And after 3 years of being partners with him, we had all of his really good ideas. He had all of our extra money. We were faced with, you know, it was do or die. And, you know, the company was losing $5 grand a month. And we looked at each other and we go, there's just no way this can continue. And we asked ourselves, should we just pack up our stuff and go back to the farm and be done with the baking business? And my dad said, I think I can take care of the farm if you can take care of the bakery. And so we chugged away at it, and Hope and I dug in down there, and we developed a matrix so that we could find out if we made money each day. We just broke it down into the every day's activity. And some days weren't so great. Some days we'd make a little money. Within about 6 months, we started making $5 grand a month, and it was unbelievable. And we did the math. We go 5 times 12, that's 60,000 a year. This could be a great business. And once it turned around and we started making money, then it was just almost like jet fuel. And we started feeling ourselves being propelled forward, and it was a blast. I mean, we built that bakery up in Bozeman enough that we could come out to Three Forks and build closer to the farm. And that's what really tied it all together, because we wanted to make sure that, well, we were doing farm to table before farm to table was cool. It's sort of like country before country was cool, you know. We were out here in the middle of nowhere building a bakery, and everybody goes, my God, that's a crazy, crazy idea. And the idea of us actually building a deli on the front of the bakery was sort of an offshot of all the little cheese factories and creameries that used to exist in Montana and small towns. And we'd always stop at those places. Well, they all went away. When we put the deli in out here, it was just the centerpiece of the business, and it helped us tell our story. We're close to the farm. People loved the experience. We gave tours of the plant, and all of a sudden we were off and running, and it was a blast. I mean, we started making money, and the company started to grow.
I don't want to get buried in the financial weeds here, but you raised financial optics. And I see it so oftentimes in business that business owners think that, well, I look at my P&L every quarter, yet you broke it all the way down to the day. which to me is key in business. If you don't know what you're doing every day and you're only looking at those every quarter, you're always risking a 3-month failure.
Yeah, we had to have that immediate feedback so we had confidence to move forward on the next day. And if we needed to make changes, we made changes immediately. If there were products that weren't working out, or products that didn't sell, or products that came back stale, we had to make those kinds of adjustments. If our labor was off, we had to make those kinds of adjustments. And you're right, we couldn't wait till the end of the month and then a 15-day close period to review our P&L. We had to have immediate information. Now, as the company started getting more successful, then we relaxed that, obviously, and we had confidence that we were going to make money every month. But you know, when you're early on in a business, you do everything, and it's another thing that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs or a lot of people in business don't get right off the bat. You know, when we started the company and we did this, you know, I was still helping Dad with the farm. We were farming. We fixed the equipment at the farm. We worked on the bakery. We fixed the equipment at the bakery. I did the marketing. I did the visioning for new products and the market research. Hope did the bookkeeping. All of those things we did ourselves. We just didn't have the resources. When something would break down and it cost $500, we'd look at each other and go, where are we going to get the money? Even when we started making a little bit of money, every dollar that we had in our pocket, we cherished that, and we did not let go of it easily. But it's interesting, as you grow a company, you start to develop some layers in there. And so then you get a maintenance guy, so you don't have to fix the equipment. And then you know, you get a marketing company to help you with some of your marketing efforts. And you get a better bookkeeping system. You start to develop layers in there, and you get a bakery operations guy. We get a better guy at the farm to help with the daily operations there. So you start to build these layers in so that you can actually manage the company and work on it instead of working in it. Now, we still sometimes get sucked into working in it, but when you're working on a business and trying to get the 30,000 foot level, that's when you can really start to change things for the better.
Now, you had brought up kind of your customer experience, name branding, if you will. Today, it seems like it's almost too easy in the retail world to forget about the customer experience because everybody's thinking, oh, well, I've got to be on Facebook or social media of one sort or another, and they forget about the customer experience. What is it that drove you in this passion for your business to say, we have to develop a strong customer experience and a strong name brand?
Well, you know, we knew early on that we were developing a branded company. You know, we had opportunities to do generic products for stores and generic products for companies where we wouldn't have an identity. But we really felt like the value long-term was building a name around Wheat Montana. It was a great name, and we felt like it had unlimited potential for what we wanted to do with it. But we had a term inside the company that was called every single customer experience. And you know, we were in business before there was Facebook, and we were in business before there was social media and all these ways that you can reach out now. And it was pretty simple and pretty straightforward, and it was like guerrilla warfare. You know, we were competing with big companies. We were competing with General Mills. We were competing with Sweetheart Bread, and we were competing with Franz and all those guys from the start. And when you compete with those guys, you learn a lot from them. And you know, you can just be quicker, and you can change faster. And when we have a customer complaint, even to this day, I try to be the one that answers it, because we can always win the business back. Customers are pretty forgiving. You know, we go through our challenges, and sometimes you have quality issues because maybe it's the time of year your plant isn't up to snuff, or we've got problems with employees, but you can always win the customer back if you treat them correctly. And so I always try to make sure that my hand gets involved in that process. We still have, you know, issues on a daily basis, and even in the properties, the hotel properties. But I think if you address the issue that you've got immediately with the customer, you'll win the business back.
Now, for people who don't know Wheat Montana, we're outside of Three Forks, a very small community. We're not in Bozeman. We're not in a major...
Buy it. And with the deli here, it really opened up the doors for us to entertain people and give them the first-hand Wheat Montana experience. It was the best marketing vehicle that we could have ever developed.
Now, Dean, I know you're short on time here. You got to get running. one of two things here real quick. You're a voracious reader. Why don't you give me a couple of books that you would recommend people to read, whether it's business growth or personal growth?
Yeah, we like Good to Great. We've all read that in the company, and we need to review that fairly often because I think we start to forget some of the principles in that book. But my two favorite books on a personal level are Guns, Germs, and Steel, and that's Jared Diamond wrote that. You know, he's a guy that loves Montana, and he's written several books. But that was one of the books that really sort of brought it all together with me on how the world works, how the world developed, rather than all of these theories and all of this conspiracy about how we developed as a society or as a human species. And my second, well, it's now my first favorite book, and it's also Bill Gates' favorite book, and he's quite the reader, you know. And he recommends a lot of books, but he recommends this to everyone, and it's called Enlightenment Now, and that's by Steven Pinker. And that is an amazing book, and I think that everybody should read it. We all go through, I shouldn't say we all, but a lot of us go through the world with false information or bad information, and we really don't understand what the truth is. And I think in our current political environment, on the Montana level and probably also on a national level, for sure on a national level, that's the case. So we have to understand what the truth is so that we can make up our mind and make decisions based on the truth. And if you read that book, Enlightenment Now, it'll really take you a long ways in getting there.
Dean, I can't thank you enough. How do our viewers find you? You mentioned we're on the corner of 287 and I-90, right?
Yep.
How do they find you? Social media, internet?
Yeah, well, we're on there. We have a Facebook page. We have an internet, or a website, obviously. Stop in. Our products are available in grocery stores all across Montana and Wyoming. We have 3 delis outside of here. We've got our flour products available almost nationwide in Walmart, Sprouts. You'll find us in the Wheat Montana reclosable flour bag, and it's our most widely distributed product right now, and we just can't hardly keep up. So we're pretty excited about the growth of the company right now. As far as hospitality goes, you know, the Sacagawea Hotel is located in Three Forks, and that's really just a cool old building that's been renovated and renaissanced and reimagined. 1910 it was built, and you know, today it's got all the modern features of a luxury hotel, but it still has the old building to surround the experience, and it's a lot of fun. We've just opened the RSVP Motel, and the Farmer's Daughters is the next part of that. That's a little restaurant that's going to be located adjacent to the motel, and that's 38 rooms of boutique luxury in Bozeman, and the Farmer's Daughter is going to be cool, and we're actually working with a fellow in Missoula that's going to open a concert venue next door to that. So it's going to really be the 1, 2, 3 punch there, and that's going to be a kind of a hallmark property for us to see if we can make that work, and if it works, then we're just going to try to run with that.
Well, excellent, Dean. Thank you so much. I hope we get to follow up with you in another year to hear about how things are expanding.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, Dean Folkford, Wheat Montana. What a great experience today. If you can't take away any nuggets from this, you just aren't trying. So thanks for joining Silverman Law Office. Have a wonderful day.